Hi, I'm Jenna and I'm an old girl and I am from the cohort of 2004 and at the moment I am an employment law solicitor. So you may be wondering how I became interested in the law in the first place, and basically my dad mentioned to me one day that the law has got lots of different avenues and it might be worth considering that as a way to go forwards initially. So I ended up applying to study law at Oxford University and I really enjoyed that degree. I was able to learn about all the different types of law, such as contract law, tort law, criminal law. And it was actually when I was on what you call the LPC, the legal practice course, that my current husband, who at the time was my boyfriend, phoned me up one day and told me that he'd been sacked from his job. So I quickly had to get up to speed with employment law. And at the time, the law was such that there was an automatically unfair dismissal if the 3 stages in a fair process weren't met. So I could see from my research that I had to quickly do for him that his dismissal was unfair. So that led me down the path of working out how to navigate reaching a successful conclusion to somebody, my boyfriend's, employment dispute at the time, which resulted in me attending a meeting face to face with the CEO of this company, and ultimately I managed to negotiate a settlement for him and he was able to draw a line under that and move on. So that was my first venture into employment law, and I could tell from that it was something I was really interested in. So after that, I started my training contract at Macfarlane's and I requested to sit in the employment department as my first seat. So during the training contract, at least back in my day when I did my training contract, you had 4 6-month seats to carry out during your 2-year training contract. And so my first one that I requested was employment law. And I really enjoyed that seat. It's just so interesting finding out about all the different disputes that are happening across the city and across the country between employees and employers, and finding out, the practical ways of resolving them. Unfortunately, when I applied for a job on qualification, there was only 1 space available in the employment department at Macfarlane's, so I moved on to work in the tax disputes department at Herbert Smith, which is a Magic Circle firm, because I thought that with my interest in litigious work, so the dispute side of things, and the fact that I had actually sat in the tax department at Macfarlane's, I thought that would have been a good combination. But ultimately, my passion was in employment law, and that led me to seek employment at a specialist employment firm called Thomas Mansfield, which is where I am now. A pivotal moment in my career has been the Starbucks case, and that is the case where I represented the dyslexic shift supervisor, and that involved claims of disability discrimination arising from her dyslexia. So you may be wondering what happened in that case. Well, she approached me and explained that she had been subjected to an assessment at work in which she had completed the health and safety book, which required her to take fridge temperatures, water temperatures, the usual types of checks that Starbucks do with the food and drink at the branches. And she unfortunately made some mistakes when taking a note of those temperatures, and also when calibrating one of the probes that's used to take the temperatures. These mistakes arose due to her dyslexia, and despite this, Starbucks accused her of falsifying the notebook. They dragged her through a disciplinary process. Ultimately, when we brought claims of disability discrimination and also sex discrimination to the employment tribunal, she ended up winning most of her claims. And at that time, neurodiversity was not widely spoken about as it is today. And so it was a really important judgment that helped to raise awareness of neurodiversity in the workplace. In relation to any students who are interested in pursuing a career in the law, I've got 3 bits of advice. My first one is to keep an open mind, because there are so many different areas of the law, and I'm sure once you try all the different types, you will find one that you will be passionate about. And that brings me on to my second point, which is that my advice is to follow what you are passionate about. And that is what I did with my interest and passion in employment law. And it has led me to have a career where I really enjoy the work that I do on a daily basis. And finally, my advice is that once you've found an area of law that you are interested in, don't request it as your first seat on your training contract, because that may disadvantage you compared with if you carry out that seat later in your training contract, where you're likely to be given more responsibilities once you're in your second year of your training contract, which will then hopefully improve your chances of actually qualifying into that area of law. In my time at Farnborough Hill, I was definitely encouraged to push myself further, and that really gave me a sense of confidence to carry that through to the wider world and to push myself further in whatever I choose to do.